Welcome to Wafrow, the AI copywriter with superpowers. And just so I'm not getting into hyperbole, right? There are two things that you expect from a copywriter. One is that I have existing copy on my landing pages, my emails, my Facebook creatives. How do they keep getting better over time? The second is I have copy in, say, English. How do I run my store in German, in Italian, in French, so on and so forth? So let's dive into both one by one. And for the creative aspect, let me use, say, HelloFresh, which is the largest meal kit provider and my previous employer, to illustrate this point. And there is some context which a copywriter has to say the world's most popular cooking box. If you add that context in like a bunch of CRO learnings, you can generate variants of this form, which is the AI creative copywriter, to say within German, how is this string looking like? And you can see the elements of some notations which are more CRO friendly. You can show a couple of more variations. Instead of focusing on discount, it's focusing on more savings related elements. Yeah. Now, another element that I can show here is it can run all of this in 6 languages: Arabic, German, English, Spanish, French, and Dutch. So let's focus on, say, English and add some more personalization elements that you might have from your CRM systems. Let's say an email that you send somebody an email and add the city variable. And instead of saying this weekly delivery right to your door, how could you inject other elements, say get X dollars of your first box delivered weekly to your city? And if you're unhappy with this, so you can just edit it and say delivered weekly to your door in Berlin or in Dusseldorf or whatever. Yeah. And how do you know that this variant is better than an existing variant that you have? You know it by running an A/B test. So if you click setup experiment, a new A/B test will start, and you can start to measure the results of your existing strings with your variant strings. And let's look at an actual experiment on a website I created for this purpose called morgan.fit. And let's look at just the first header element of this. Now in the control, this is what it is. And just so I'm faithfully reproducing this, the Morgan and the sunflower emoji is the control group. What the treatment group is Morgan with like a personalization variable called first name and a muscle emoji. Let me try to recreate a user in the treatment group. I did not work this time. Let's hope it works on a different tab. Yeah, I know it is in the treatment group because of this muscle. And if I send an email to this user with a first name, this is kind of the variant which is generated. Now the third aspect of this is, now that this experiment is running, what is the difference in conversion rate across the two experiments? How many participants do you still need to conclude? Are you learning enough to make your creative algorithm work better? So the creative copywriting aspect is generating more variants that you can test with to make your existing copy better. The second aspect is translation. And the hard part of machine translation is, I would argue, solved, right? You can look at a Japanese restaurant on their menu and actually translate most of what is said. What is missing is a personality aspect and some brand related aspects of it. So there is a way you expect a Zalando to communicate, which is much more informal, to the way a Hermes communicates, which is far more formal and a luxury audience. And if these two brands are communicating with you and using the same set of strings in, say, German as a language, it's using the Endeke Meher as a more informal way of communicating. But if it was using the same string was being translated on Hermes, it would use the Z-Meher form. Now, curiously, what you're expecting here is a very different format than like an input string, right? This is a JSON that you can directly put into, say, your Shopify store to say, if this is English, this is Spanish, and this is how it can run. I'm adding more formats to this to, say, support iOS apps, so on and so forth. And there is key name that are also being supported. Now, the last aspect I want to touch on is what other brand elements, and I'll use the sheets function to illustrate this. Now, there are brand elements like coupon code, which if you're trying to translate with Google Translate, it translates into, say, autumn or otoño in Spanish. And if you compare this to a Wafrow translate, it's basically just saying, this is my original string, this is kind of, I want to retain the original meaning of the brand intent and just show stuff. The creative part is acting as a sparring partner and giving you much more variations. And you can use this in campaign planning, and this allows you to actually even expand surface area beyond landing pages and A/B tests and bring it back in. So this is a quick rundown of the creative elements and the translation elements of Wafrow, which is why I called it with superpowers. See you around.